You know someone like this. Maybe it's you. They're always 5 minutes late, or 15, or running through the door apologizing before they even take off their shoes. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I do this. I swear I tried. And the strange part is, they actually mean it. They feel guilty. They feel ashamed. They promise themselves it won't happen again. And then it does. Again and again. So what's really going on psychologically with people who are chronically late, especially the ones who blame themselves for it? Because this isn't about disrespect, and it's rarely about not caring. It's about something much deeper. First, we need to separate two types of lateness. There are people who are late because they don't value other people's time. And then there are people who are late and feel intense anxiety about it. This video is about the second group. The ones who sit in traffic rehearsing apologies in their head. The ones whose stomach tightens when they look at the clock. The ones who genuinely want to change, but somehow repeat the pattern. Psychologically, chronic lateness often isn't a time management issue. It's an emotional regulation issue. Many chronically late people struggle with what psychologists call time blindness. Their perception of time is not linear and stable. It's elastic. 10 minutes can feel like 30, or 30 can feel like 5. They underestimate transitions. They think, I just need to shower and leave. But they forget the invisible steps. Finding clothes, checking messages, small distractions, mental hesitation. Their brain calculates time optimistically, not realistically. But that's only part of it, because if it were just miscalculation, guilt wouldn't be so intense. Here's where it gets deeper. For many people, chronic lateness is connected to avoidance anxiety. Leaving the house means entering a social environment. It means performance, expectations, evaluation. And even if they consciously want to go, a small part of their nervous system resists it. So they delay. Not dramatically, not consciously, just a little longer scrolling, a little longer fixing something unnecessary, a little longer reorganizing something that didn't need to be reorganized. Procrastination before social exposure is often fear in disguise. And here's the paradox. The more they delay, the more anxiety builds. Now they're not just going to the event, they're going late, which means more attention, more embarrassment, more guilt, and yet the cycle repeats. Why? Because guilt doesn't automatically rewire behavior, especially when the behavior is soothing something underneath. Chronic lateness can also be tied to perfectionism. That sounds counterintuitive, but think about it. Some people are late because they don't want to arrive unprepared. They need to feel fully ready, mentally aligned, perfectly composed. So they keep adjusting, fixing their hair again, rewriting the message again, checking one more thing. Procrastination before departure might also be fear in disguise. And underneath perfectionism is fear of judgment. For others, lateness is about control. When someone feels powerless in many areas of life, time becomes one of the only things they can unconsciously control. Arriving late shifts the dynamic. Now they enter the room on their own terms. The attention shifts when they walk in. The timeline bends around them. They don't consciously think this way, but psychologically, unpredictability can feel powerful, and power feels safer than vulnerability. There's also something called self-sabotage patterns. If someone has a deep belief like, I disappoint people, or I'm unreliable, they may unconsciously behave in ways that confirm that identity. Not because they want to fail, but because the brain prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar change. Being late reinforces the story they already believe about themselves, and strangely, that consistency feels stabilizing. Then comes the shame, and shame is heavy. Unlike guilt, which says, I did something wrong, shame says, I am something wrong. After enough repeated lateness, identity shifts. I'm just bad with time. I'm that late person.
This is just how I am. And once something becomes identity, changing it feels threatening, because now you're not just adjusting a habit, you're challenging who you think you are. There's another layer people rarely talk about. Some chronically late individuals grew up in chaotic environments, homes where schedules were unpredictable, where adults were inconsistent, where structure wasn't modeled. Time wasn't stable, so their internal clock never fully calibrated. When you grow up without consistent routines, punctuality isn't intuitive. It has to be learned later, and learning it can trigger feelings of inadequacy. Every late arrival becomes proof of not being enough. But here's the important part. Chronic lateness in people who feel guilty about it is not a character flaw. It's often a nervous system pattern. Their brain struggles with future visualization, their body resists transitions, their emotions interfere with executive function. And then they judge themselves for it, which adds stress, which makes the next transition harder. It becomes a loop. Stress, avoidance, lateness, shame, stress. Breaking that loop requires more than just try harder. It requires curiosity instead of self-attack. Instead of asking, why am I like this? The better question is, what am I avoiding in this moment? Is it social pressure? Fear of being seen? Perfectionism? Loss of control? Overwhelm? Because once the emotional driver is identified, behavior starts to shift naturally. It also helps to externalize time. People with time blindness benefit from visible countdowns, alarms for transitions, not just departure, and realistic buffers. Not because they're incapable, but because their brain needs structure, not criticism. And maybe the most important piece is this. If someone repeatedly feels terrible about being late and still repeats it, that means the behavior is meeting a deeper need. And needs don't disappear through shame. They dissolve through understanding. So if you're someone who is always late and always apologizing, maybe you're not broken. Maybe your nervous system learned that transitions are threatening. Maybe your mind learned that perfect preparation equals safety. And maybe time feels abstract in a world that demands precision. And maybe, instead of calling yourself irresponsible, you could ask what part of you is scared. Because once fear is addressed, time becomes easier. And when compassion replaces shame, change stops feeling impossible. Lateness isn't always about the clock. Sometimes it's about what walking through the door represents. And that's psychology.